there's other savings that we can identify, but that's the one that we see very clear, very early, and we can tell you that right away. So then we move, if you guys decide to move forward, we would give you a contract that basically says we're gonna audit your facility. And if you decide to move from the audit, the IGA investment grade audit into design, we can roll that audit cost into the design cost. So normally that would be a design cost, but we're already kind of getting a lot of the way there, so we roll what we did in the audit into the design cost. If you decide not to work with us, you just pay the audit fee. We normally can measure the audit fee by square foot, which I don't know how many square feet you have. So
Well, see, I mentioned, like, we all have multiple facilities. We have the commons, the senior center, we have this building, we have the complex, what else we got?
The MSU buildings.
The MSU, so there might be 5 or 6
Sheriff.
buildings. The sheriff's department, the
Yeah.
ambulance
Road.
department, the
Road.
road department. There might be 7 places to look at. That it's kind of like, so I'm thinking of the no risk piece of this. To say, we got 7 things to do. We looked at them, we understood, roughly what their. The other thing, I guess, that I think it might take you a little bit of time, but not a massive time, is analyzing, the utility bills,
That doesn't take us too much
and
time.
so, because we get them, that's the one thing that I noticed, like, we pay claims every week, and every week we're spending thousands on propane and the electric bill, and it's, so I think there's opportunity for savings, at least to, you guys chime in, at least to say, well, let's take a look at what we can get, cost in terms of, and then if it looks like, well, maybe let's invest in it all,
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
thing is too, is we have a boiler in this office. And is there one in the sheriff's office, or did they get rid of that?
No, new one, he's got one in the propane,
They went to propane?
but it's new, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be efficient.
Well, I'm just saying, we've been talking about getting rid of that boiler because it's coal,
We're switching
Yeah.
it over.
It's dirty.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the other thing. Like, we're looking at your guys. We're designing it around your guys' needs too. If you're saying, hey, it doesn't feel like the air quality in the building is super good, or we don't have good controls. It's always super cold in the winter. It's super hot in the summer. We're
Where
built.
it's really hot up there, and it's
Yeah.
cold down here.
Yeah, and there's energy savings just in the controls, just in shutting things down when you don't have occupancy. You have occupancy sensors, lights turn on themselves. People leave and they forget to turn the lights off. I mean, there's energy savings in that, just an occupancy sensor. And so we take a very, very holistic look at it. If health and comfort is a goal, we're keeping that in mind when we design it. But yeah, so to get started, really what we need is you can sign off. Are you guys Northwestern Energy?
Yeah.
You can just sign off and say, hey, we want Ameresco, Northwestern Energy, give Ameresco 3 years of utility data.
Okay.
And then you give us, what buildings, the information on what buildings you guys have and the square footage of the buildings. It could be your guys' as-built drawings or whatever. And we can crunch the numbers, no cost to you guys.
They probably won't be, so first there's Northwest, so that's dealing with electricity, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But then we got the propane, which is usually through McCleary, and they may not be, but we might be able to gather that kind of data for you.
Yeah.
Do a sort by McCleary invoicing, and say, here, this is what we spent.
Mhm.
I don't think it'll be broken down by building though. It might be a little bit more of a challenge, but, now I'm getting kind of into the weeds, but I think it's gonna be an eye opener. We'll say, wow, we're spending, I'm sure there's opportunity to do something. So, and I'm almost feeling there'd be enough, well, we have to do a little work to help you, I guess, to help
Yeah.
you do your own.
Yeah, we definitely, we need information from you guys.
Yeah, but I don't
We need
know.
sign off on information, we need you to have someone be able to give us, if I say, hey, for some reason, I'm looking on Google Earth and this building, I penciled it out and it says it's this square footage, but the drawings we got, it looks like there's a wing that,
Yeah, you know, we might be really weak on that. I don't know, maybe we have blueprints on the commons. I'm not sure what we have square footage here, what kind of information we have. Even cadastral sometimes
Yeah.
is a good, but I think between it all, between our 5 or 7, we can pin down close enough square footages and maybe zero in on what propane and electrical cost. I think we can work with you to get
Yeah.
you the information.
Don't forget all the stuff out of the dump too,
What other word?
at the refuse site.
Oh, yeah, the refuse, yeah.
The dump,
Yep.
uses a lot of propane, electricity and propane.
well, is there a, how is that? I mean, I think open pit, I mean, how is the dump
Now
used?
it's all dumpsters and,
There's this big shed that
Big
you
shed.
back in and you dump
You
into
back
these
in.
containers
and
and
then it's hauled
it's
off.
open, but you know,
It's not open pit.
you wonder if, well, first of all, I don't even know if they're heating that, I don't know what their elements are, but it is another facility we got.
Okay. Yep, yeah, so, to get started, we just need information from you guys, we need sign off that we can call Northwestern Energy, and we do this, I mean, we did work for Monterey County Courthouse. So it's, Northwestern Energy is very used to us calling, and
Sure.
we just need a form for you to sign, and, we get the information and we get started, and it, you can phase it out, you can do it all in one lump sum. If you just had a lighting problem, say Amoresco, we wanna do a county-wide lighting upgrade. The other thing is that we do have a very good finger on the pulse of what free money is out there. So for instance, the feds just passed a grant, it's called the RR82 or something like that. It's a grant that is for safe driving across the country. They're trying to lower the death rates in driving, so like cities, counties can get free lighting upgrades for their entire city, the county, if you guys own and operate, street lights anywhere in the county, you can get that funded through the feds. The DEQ has money that comes down, that is specific for municipalities. You keep an eye on and see where your needs align with it and help you guys apply. So
that's, you kinda got me thinking, we're the county, you probably might wanna, introduce yourself to the city as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have.
I did reach out to him, but I didn't hear back. But
Okay.
always open to
The street
introduction.
lights are maintained by the state.
The
by
state,
him.
oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
pretty sure. Cause it's a state highway through Main Street. So I'm pretty sure the state, if I remember right, that's the,
That would make sense to me.
cause they had a big conversation at the chamber meetings about putting decorations on the light poles.
Yeah, you have to
Goes
get the
with
state's approval.
Northwest Energy and the state.
The other thing that we can look at, you mentioned the waste facility. If you got land out there that you just covered up a bunch of trash and you want to put solar on top of it and just have it feed that facility, you can do that. Always put solar on the roof. Like I said, we can own and operate it, sell it back to you at a cheaper rate. We won't build anything that we're not going to guarantee is cheaper than what you're paying, right? So there's a lot of different avenues. The first step is just to kind of dig in and see what you guys got
See
going
what
on
we
here.
got, yeah.
But it sounds like you do, you got boilers that are running on coal, that's not a very efficient system.
Right.
Your lighting, would be one of the things we can immediately start to look at.
Well, what do you guys think?
I mentioned the solar panels on the roof,
Yeah, you did this one.
maybe a windmill.
I'm thinking, and get you guys' opinion, that it doesn't hurt at least to initiate the free, the no-cost portion of the audit to get enough of a feel of maybe investing in an audit. would be
Mhm. Yeah,
I almost think that's a pretty smart move, because I think you've introduced expertise in areas that you know, I know personally, I'm just not an expert in, but I know enough to know that there's probably some savings there.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you guys plan for, you know, deferred maintenance or capital projects when you need something renewed? How do you guys have a capital planning committee?
We do. No, I
Well, we have a planning committee, but honestly, it's, you know, each department, you know, has their future plans and what.
Yeah,
You know, like the road department, or the sheriff's department, or the emergency department, or the fire department. You know, and that's, but there isn't any one big committee that studies it. The only really committee that we have that has, you know, professional input and
Mhm.
oversight is our planning board.
yeah,
But that has more to do with land use
yeah.
Yeah.
than it does.
One of the things we can provide in that scenario is kind of be the glue that brings all the departments together, and then the transparency that's like, okay, everyone come together, this is what you guys need as a whole, and this is how much money we can get to build it through the energy savings, and then if there's any, you know, little bit of money left over and the departments need to come together, we can, you know, basically describe.
Maybe you're aware of some grants or something like that.
Yep, absolutely, yeah.
Because really, now that I think of it, it's really Lori's the one that manages these buildings. You know, but we don't have a quote facility manager that, you know,
Mhm.
we never really thought of ourselves as big enough to,
Yeah.
to warrant that.
So you got the courthouse, the waste management,
Sheriff?
sheriffs, which is
Yeah.
relatively new, you said.
No, it's old, sheriff's old. It's
Sheriff's old, but the new boiler.
new boiler,
Yeah.
road department,
The road department?
yep,
Road
the
department.
ambulance
Commons
department,
over there, they,
the commons, yep,
Okay.
Extension agent,
extension agent,
4-H, yeah.
yes, exactly. So there's a few of them.
Yeah, the more real estate you have, the more savings you have, the more it starts to make sense.
See, we have all this stuff insured too through Mako, but our representative is with, Key Bank there, and he has a list, he probably has all the square footages and everything. Key Insurance, yeah, yeah, he probably has a list of all the square footages and everything we got. So, I think we can piece information together to get you started at least on a first pass, and kinda like what I heard you explain was, okay, well, and maybe you come and do a walkthrough, and we'll look at the different facilities. But, you know, your first ROM, and part of that ROM might be, you know, this is what we think might be out there, maybe it's a range,
Mhm.
but is this enough for you guys to think you'd wanna invest in an audit, which we think will cost roughly in this range? Is
Yeah,
that kinda what
exactly. Yep. Yeah, so our first pass, like I said, no risk to you, and we're not gonna tell you to do something that doesn't make sense to us either. So,
Because you're guaranteeing it.
yeah, exactly, and, you know, at the worst case scenario is you find out that, you know, you're operating what you should be.
Yeah, that there isn't a lot of added value to the big investment it would take to.
Yeah, and we're gonna be the first person to tell you that, hey, we think this boiler's gonna shut down pretty soon here, or, you know, whatever, we're gonna let you know what condition, it's a facilities condition assessment. We're letting you know what you're at, what you could be at, what your savings would be, and then we dig a little deeper into the audit, and then we guarantee, you know, if you guys decide to move forward, we guarantee it, and we guarantee the price, you hand it to us, and, it's straightforward from there, and that's the value.
So do you guys think we should maybe, where I'm headed is asking these guys if we're maybe asking you to send us a letter or an email, basically, you know,
What we need.
kicking this off and, you know, what you need to,
Yeah,
what you need to us to authorize and basically what these steps, what you need and what
Yeah.
the steps are.
absolutely, yeah. I will do that, I'll shoot you an email, and then, next step would be Josh, he's on that team member page I sent you. Josh and I are gonna come out here and have a walkthrough. He's out of Helena, I'm out of Livingston, so we'll link up here, and we'll just need a representative from you guys to walk through. Well, thank you, I don't wanna
Thank
take any
you.
more of your time, I know you guys gotta move to the next thing.
Appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely.
Do you have a business card or?
I was just telling him, I handed my last one out and forgot to refill.
I'm glad to hear that. Sometimes I don't have mine.
So I'll shoot you an
You'll
email with
be
my
in the email,
information
okay.
again, yeah.
Alright.
And it's on my email signature. Alright guys, you guys enjoy your weekend.
All right,
Thank you
appreciate it,
again.
sir. Good to see you.
Oh, all the county
Oh,
owned buildings.
Teresa,
Yeah, could possibly be.
I have a box at home if you want.
Yay, yes.
New ones are out.
Okay. You have one for the welcome plaza? A box for
A
the
box.
Okay, that's
Perfect
perfect.
box for you
Yay.
at my house.
Thank you.
He did such a good job.
Oh, yeah, Miss Brenda.
Yeah, well, the new ones.
Do you have a good new one?
I don't know, I only have one more meeting than I'm all but, so I don't know, she was on a Zoom meeting on Wednesday. She might be all right.
Oh, you're stepping down from them too? Okay.
My friend is up. Sorry.
Night.
Hi.
Sit back.
Okay.
All right. I'll make it.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Running around, handling this, that, and the other.
Good to be busy. Yeah, but not too busy.
I'm really never hurting for things to do, guys.
I just sent you another email with something else to do.
We were just talking, that man doesn't have enough to do. The devil's hand, what is it? Idle hands in the devil's workshop. Put that in, put that with an attorney, with a legal law degree, that is bad news.
Ultimately, the problem you guys have is if I'm not busy working on other stuff, I sit down there and I come up with other things to do to improve various things around the county. I mean, I've got about 10 projects on the back burner that I'll never get. That those start getting worked on whenever I have a spare minute, so there really isn't.
Yeah, I hear you. All right.
Ready? Okay, this has been, I thought last week was busy, this week put last week to shame. I really, yeah, there's just been one thing after another. I'll start with, John Minot. So he's worked on the alley work, he actually sort of changed directions and got this flexible tubing that he put on the end of the downspouts. I sent you pictures of those. He ended the downspouts at the edge of our property line, and then that created a problem with the Bill Teason to the north, or to the south. And so then we met with Bill that morning, as soon as Bill called me, and we found a resolution that Bill was happy with, and John put that into place immediately. So I think I just sent those to you.
No, I think you put them on the 3 pages.
Then I put them on, oh yeah, I sent that on the email, that's where I did it. So
It's
I
on the
wanted to
email?
document that, that we had found a
He
resolution.
just basically expanded it so that it, whatever Bill Teason
Right.
was.
But, okay, so, but what I'm not happy with what is done there is it's not a permanent fix, it's a temporary fix. Because they can't drive over that, you know? We're about to have
No.
a ton of workers in there. And one of the abatement contractors told me they could have 2 or 3 large dumpsters there any given time. So I said, John, this is not gonna work. You know, it's working right now as a temporary, you know, what we need, but we need something pretty quick fixed in there. And so I talked to our structural, because Jim was really concerned with the amount of moisture that's still in the building, and I explained to him why, and I explained to him what we're doing. And he said, well, he suggested concrete, what did he call those? No, like concrete valley gutters from the downspouts, so a 3-foot wide concrete gutter that we could pour at the end of the downspouts that funnel the water straight out to the alley, and then it run down the alley like it's supposed to, but the workers can still drive over them without causing any damage to our drainage system.
Right. Is there any way they could maybe do, like a ramp that would go over would protect it and they could drive over it like maybe some thick steel that, put something underneath it and then, sometimes you see road people do that.
Okay,
But that might, either way, we get it, that they don't need that whole area to drive back and forth in, but they do need to get in and out of there. So maybe there's, I'm just thinking of a ramp, two big things of steel that they could put down.
to
with some
cover the
supports
concrete and
underneath.
protect it.
Well, to cover those flexible tubes so they could drive right over the tubes.
Oh, you're saying don't do the concrete, just cover the flexible tubes with some kind of metal ramp.
Yeah, so you got a flexible tube and so you got this ramp
Gotcha.
and that, and then you might put a couple of supports, you know. But I don't know what you do the top, maybe you'd weld or do something, but that might be a cheaper, better solution, because you see this, I don't know, whatever, you know, but you know, your concrete's kind of more permanent, once you've done it, you've done it.
Well, I mean, ideally, I think what a developer's gonna end up doing there is like what do y'all know, are you familiar with the front of the physical therapy building? Have you been to the front of the
Oh.
physical therapy building? So we had
Is
to
this
have
at the
a,
hospital?
yes, we had to have a civil engineer design that with a 1% grade so that the stormwater was planned for. Because the way the city's designed, the water is supposed to flow across the avenues down to Main Street, or down to the next closest street, and then down south. And so, what we had to do is plan for the water to flow off of our site and not go towards the building and then go down the avenue. So I think that's what's gonna end up happening.
That's
But
a
we don't.
that's a developer's
That's a
solution.
developer's piece, but I just want us to put something into place, cause we have to ensure that that basement stays dry.
Yeah, I think you could ask John or somebody, you know, like, you see sometimes they use those big heavy sheets
Okay,
to cover a hole or something. And they're too heavy to handle manually, but if you got equipment, you could put that in place. I mean,
okay.
just a thought. Maybe concrete is the solution, I don't know.
Okay, and if you can't find that solution, so a metal ramp over the, okay.
And it'd have to be kind of located where you could get dumpsters in and out, and if they say, nah, that'll never work, then okay, I'm with you.
Okay, I'll ask him about that. Cause then I asked him, so separately, I said, John, what is our solution here? This was a temporary solution, which I'm not a temporary solution person, but, he said the same thing that the structural said separately, without me even telling him that. So I'll ask him about the metal ramp, and then I did ask him, well, what do you think that would cost? The other situation, well, let me back up. The other situation that we have going on is the gutter that Bill Teason put in for us that drains 2/3 of our building now, because the way he remade those drains was leaking, and it was leaking all down the face of the building and into the boiler room. So that's
The
so
Bill Thiessen put in?
yeah. He used an old piece of gutter and it was bent, and anyway, the water was, and he didn't put any fascia board on it or any flashing or anything. So I asked John, I said, I need you to pin that for me or I'll come do it, because we had to just do it. You know, when snow comes off your roof, sometimes it drags your gutter. We had to just do that on our house. So I asked him, I said, can you fix that? He ended up putting some wood up there. You can go look at it, what he did, just as a temporary fix, because he says there's just nothing behind it to hook the gutter, to fix what's there. So I said, well, how can we do this right? Because it needs to be done right. Because if we get one of our big torrential flash flood events, that's 2/3 of the building roof that's draining into that gutter. And it's a regular sized gutter. So I think I'm gonna anyway, John gave me, he's like, this is what I do, Teresa, and he wants to put, new fascia board on there facing, flashing, remove the old gutter, replace it with a commercial gutter, and do it right so it can actually handle the load of the building, keep, you know, to really, so that's an extra expense for us, but, I didn't know if you wanted to go back to Bill and say, Bill, we need this done right, or if you wanna just move forward with John.
I think you move forward, you solve it, you recognize that the water, managing this water is everything. So,
Yes.
Otherwise it's gonna delay everything else we have to do, so.
Okay, so I
That's my
did,
thoughts, what do you guys think?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
okay,
Bill might fix it, but the reason I'm saying not to go back to him is because obviously he didn't. do
I
it the
agree.
first time.
I agree with you completely, lesson learned. So I asked him, what do you think that would cost? He said a couple $1,000.
That's thinking that.
Good, but he said if we had to do the concrete work, that'd probably be about 4,500, so it'd be, really? Okay. So if we have to do that, I wanted to know
So
that,
you're looking at a total of maybe $7,000, I know I'm adding money to it,
yeah,
to have concrete, almost like a great big splash block that's gonna guide it all the way down, and then have it, make sure it's draining off the roof. And even if it was that, you know, I think given what it's addressing, I don't know that you got a lot of choice unless a light comes on when you mention the metal ramp and he goes, yeah, maybe we can make that work. But,
okay.
what do you guys think?
Well, we gotta do it. We gotta do something to keep the water from out in the building.
Mr. Turley, your thoughts?
No, well, yeah. They can't have that water going in that building.
You gotta get it out the alley.
Okay,
I don't know why. I would have thought that Mr. Thiessen would have had, when he put his thing, and he was talking about what a great job he had done on his roof. He was explaining that he had to put it out so it didn't come our direction. It went in front of his building and then went out into Main Street.
and I did explain that to him, that the problem that was created was, he was actually supposed to address that for us, and I had actually asked him to extend the downspouts all the way to the alley, and he said it wasn't needed. So I reminded him this week actually that we hired a contractor that handled our drainage for us, and he was supposed to handle that. But, and he took it well. Bill and I are good friends. So, but I was like, in all seriousness, this was your job to handle this. So we're gonna be good neighbors and we're gonna fix it. And we fixed it immediately. And he did sorta, he called me and I told him I will meet you, I mean, like within an hour or two, maybe an hour and a half, I met him there to find a resolution. And he had already gone to the city and reported what we had done and caused problems with lawn. And I said, Bill, I need you to correct that and tell him that we fixed what your issue was and we did it the way we said we were gonna. So he did, he called on back and fixed that, cause I said, we're partners in this, the city and the county, we need to be good neighbors.
It's a good thing that you're diplomatic, because we don't need that, we don't need that kind of stuff.
And he called me back and he apologized and he said, I'm calling Lon right away and I'm telling you how good a neighbors the county is to me. And
All right, good deal.
so I want y'all to be aware that happened though. Okay, so I'll let you know what John says about the ramp, the metal
And
ramp.
if it doesn't work, fine, you know, so we know that we're looking at about a $7,000 bill to take care of the water temporarily.
Yes. Yes. But I think that'll dry things up. The other thing that we found out that you guys are aware of is the soil down there.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I saw Mike's email.
So because it's wet, Jim seems to think that the testing, because it was wet, came back poorer.
Yeah.